Fine Gael and Labour for the last 2 years have been blaming everyone else for the decisions they have taken. They're blaming everyone else for the austerity and for the cuts that they are implementing. They say it's Fianna Fáil's fault, they blame the Troika, they say that they have no choice. Well, they do have a choice. Tá rua ella on. Tá siad ag glacu an rua mí ceart. Tá Sinn Féin ará go hánsal go bhfuil ballach ella, ballach ceart, slí ella on. In this fully costed alternative budget, Sinn Féin shows how to reduce the deficit in a socially equitable way. We show how to protect those who are most vulnerable and to look after the interests of lower and middle income families. So there is an alternative. This government won't take it. Sinn Féin will.
€3.5 billion of cutbacks and tax hikes are to be introduced in the forthcoming budget. And experience tells us that these cutbacks and charge increases will be directed at the very people who can least afford them. These cutbacks and increased charges will hurt families struggling with big mortgages and negative equity, families trying to raise children on very modest incomes. They'll hurt the elderly, people with disabilities. They'll hurt service providers across health, education and transport. And of course, they'll hurt the economy too. They'll hurt any prospect of new jobs, new growth, and make a recovery an even dimmer prospect. And all the while these cutbacks are introduced and these charges increased, the government will continue to hand over obscene amounts of taxpayers' monies to bankers and to bondholders at home and abroad. This budget is about political choices. This government of Labour and Fine Gael, just like Fianna Fáil before them, have made all of the choices that hurt low and middle income families. But there is a different way, a better way. There are choices that can protect you and your family. There are choices that can bring about new jobs and economic growth. That is the way forward. That is the Sinn Féin way forward. That's the fair way forward too.
Sinn Féin's alternative budget identifies a €3.5 billion adjustment, which is made up of new tax proposals and over €1 billion in savings. And while we've identified these measures, we believe in Sinn Féin that a budget needs to be more than just increasing taxes or making savings. It needs to be about changing people's lives. And that's why we have identified a number of policy proposals and changes to the current tax system to help meet the needs of struggling families. Our proposals would take 296,000 people who are earning the minimum wage or below out of the tax net in terms of USC. We would also reduce excise duty on fuel by 5 cents, which would help those struggling to meet transport costs in terms of petrol and diesel. We want to make sure that the home health cuts, nearly 1 million hours that were taken away by this government, are actually put back in place, and we've identified the funding to do that. And we also want to reduce the cost of attending accident emergency by reducing that cost by €10 per visit. In our alternative budget, we've also budgeted for children's rights, and that's why we've included measures in our proposal to extend the free meals programme in schools, doubling the budget to €70 million, to extending free school books to every student in this state, and to ensuring that there is a reduced cost in terms of buying uniforms. We would also protect the budgets in relation to social protection, health and education, ensuring that children's needs are really protected. Sinn Féin's alternative budget shows that we can meet the deficit reduction targets that are being set down, but we do this in a way that is family friendly, that is fair on jobs and fair on investment and public services. Our taxation measures include measures which would see a clampdown by revenue in relation to black market activity. We would introduce a third rate of tax for those earning above €100,000 at 48%. Sinn Féin would introduce a wealth tax targeted at those who have net wealth assets above €1 million, with exemptions for working farmland, for business assets and 20% for the family home. We would also see an increase in capital gain tax and capital acquisition tax, and we would standardise all discretionary tax reliefs. That is how Sinn Féin would make our adjustments in terms of our taxation policy. Sinn Féin has identified over €1 billion in savings that could be made. These include charging the full cost for private care in public hospitals, introducing a social welfare amnesty, which Sinn Féin has produced legislation on, and capping the pay in the public and civil service at €100,000. We also believe that TDs and senators, Oireachtas members, need to lead by example. That is why Sinn Féin has proposed in our alternative budget the reduction in minister's salary, junior minister's salary, TDs and senators. We believe that many of the expenses that are paid to Oireachtas members need to be scrapped, including the mobile phone allowance, chairperson's allowances and other allowances that are part of the Oireachtas gravy train.
So I'm asking you to take the time to have a look at our alternative, to read the detail. You'll find it on our website. Share it with your friends. Spread the word. There is an alternative. It is deliverable, and it's been put together by Sinn Féin.